Hey guys, I'm doing a short companion video to the article I wrote the other day for LinkedIn on credibility being the most valuable asset that a quick loop can own. Earlier this year, I did a video internally for our staff and franchisees on price transparency being more important than oil change price. That kind of leads right into this conversation of credibility, where in 2026, the quick lubes that own credibility are going to be the ones that win. Um, whether there's a slowdown in car count from macroeconomic pressure or uh, price fatigue, those who have credibility. And one of the things that's nice about our industry is it's geographically restricted. So if you've won your community, then you kind of can charge, what you need to up to a point. There is a delta where people will stop coming if they feel as though it's worth their time to sit in a waiting room um, to save $50 if the local whoever is charging $35 for oil changes. There's some folks that are getting price fatigue of those mid 100 ticket averages these days, which is why we've kind of stepped in to fill that void in the space as a quick loop who is not consistently doing $100+ ticket averages. Please see the article I wrote on no one wants a $100 oil change. But back to this, credibility means a lot of things, and I'm going to dive into this video is really more for internal franchisees and internal staff than it is. That's why I said it's a companion article. It's not so much about the article itself. It's a companion video rather. So credibility can mean a lot of different things. It can mean showing the customer that you know what you're doing at a very base level, but it can also mean doing small things that make people feel as though their car is in good care, and that includes um, knowing how to ask questions to your colleagues, your coworkers, knowing when is a good time to show frustration and when is not, um, not cursing because the manufacturer of a vehicle put the filter right next to the intake, um, not denigrating someone's car because of something that's out of their hands, like the where the placement of the drain plug is or the filter placement. Um, that all goes into credibility. Uh, Being able to figure out things without having to ask the customer questions. You shouldn't have to ask them the size of the car. I know sometimes it might be expedient to do that, but um, a subtle trick that I had always done when I was doing oil changes in Harrisburg was the EPA sticker has the size of the engine on it. You can you can pop the hood, look at it, it's a 3.2. You go up to the customer and you're like, this is the 3.2, yada yada yada, and a lot of times they'll be like, wow, you know that just by looking at the engine. Instant credibility. They think, wow, this guy does a lot of oil changes. I'm in good hands. Um, so that's an aspect of credibility. But price transparency at the end of the day is going to be the most important facet, because price transparency is what people are getting not a lot of these days in a lot of different parts of their life. And so for this to be one aspect of their life where they're not feeling shocked, and that means for those who have more than 5 quarts, for those who have canister oil filters, being upfront about those things. And we need to have a conversation about, are we at a point where there's certain uh, oil filters like the 5436 that maybe we should just eat the cost on, or do we want to stay consistent and charge for all canister oil filters? That's something we'll have to talk about internally. But price transparency is something that people are really uh, begging for these days in the marketplace, and it's going to be what differentiates you from your peers in your space. And in 2026, it's going to be um, the most important thing that you can do. So that means if someone does have a car with more than 5 quarts, before you begin the service, you talk to them about it. If we have a Groupon, if we have a Facebook ad come in, show them where it says that and empathize with them. I'm sorry you didn't see that, but the oil change has to be standardized somehow. The standard has always been 5 quarts in a spin-on filter. Your car takes this special filter that only a handful of engines require. We don't buy as many of them. That's why it costs money. Just being upfront and educating the customer on their vehicle is going to go really far with creating that credibility, which is how cars go from, which is how stores go from car counts of 10 a day to waking up one day and it feels like overnight you're doing 35 cars a day. It takes time. You have to build that and you have to build that trust. And so it all starts with creating credibility in the shop. And there's a lot of different forms of credibility, but price transparency is uh, easily the top one in my opinion. Obviously, some people disagree and say car knowledge training, knowing what you're doing is another. I obviously, if you've watched any of my videos, am of the belief that an oil change is a commoditized service, so I don't think that there's too much you can do there for credibility wise other than knowing when and where to ask questions, when and where to complain, when and where to keep your thoughts to yourself. We had an employee a couple years ago, and actually, this is more of price transparency than anything, but someone came in with a VW that had 8 quarts of oil and a very expensive canister filter. And the employee said, "Welcome to the world of owning a VW." And of course, car guys like get that joke. It might be funny to them. Customer took a lot of offense to it. Went straight to Google, wrote a review. I can't believe he said that about my car. I was so insulted. I know the kid meant well. I know what he was trying to say, but that's part of credibility is knowing when and where to say things, knowing to pull your coworker aside and say, "Hey, I'm struggling with this filter placement. Can you help me?" Not saying from the pit, screaming upstairs, "Come down here! I can't get this filter off." So, um, that's what will take a store from being a low volume store to a high volume store, doing the small things correct over long periods of time. Um, that's really it. I don't have much else to add on that. I'm going to embed this video into the article and post it on LinkedIn. And I'm sure there's going to be people who disagree, as there always is with my posts on LinkedIn. And there's going to be some people who agree. So happy to get feedback.